right, welcome back to another episode of the Carter Cast. I'm your host, Carter Vaughn. On today's show, for the first half, it's just Connor and I, and we do underrated, overrated, everything in the NFL. We do NFL players, NFL coaches, and then all the different types of things in the NFL. For example, is the London game overrated or underrated? Phenomenal first part of the show. And then we close, we have an interview with the assistant men's basketball coach from Virginia Tech, Coach Kevin Giltner. Phenomenal interview. Ton of fun talking to him. We talk about his playing days at Wofford, playing against my Cougs and Jimmer Fredette in the NCAA tournament back in 2011. Then talk about Virginia Tech, his time coaching, all the different stuff going on in NCAA right now and NIL and all that. Phenomenal interview. I want to thank him again for coming on, and I hope you guys enjoy the show. Before we get into today's show, we are brought to you by Pod Talk. Pod Talk is the best way to listen to podcasts. It has the best interface compared to every other podcast listening app out there. I use Pod Talk myself. Go download it right now in the App Store. Go join group discussions on your favorite podcasts like this one. Go subscribe and talk about the Carter Cast in the Carter Cast group discussion on Pod Talk right now. Download Pod Talk in the App Store today. And now here's the show. All right, we're back. At the end of the show, we're going to have the Kevin Giltner interview. We're going to start off overrated, underrated of NFL things. This can range from anywhere. It's just NFL related. It can be players. It could be a coach. It could be a team. It could be any NFL thing, like NFL Red Zone, for example. You wanted to start, so let's do this.
I do. All right, I'm going to start with a tame one here. We're going to go players first. And I'm going to go overrated, underrated, Michael Thomas.
It's not a bad one. That's not a bad one to start.
Right now.
I think you have to go underrated right now, right?
I completely agree.
I think you have to go underrated because everyone's down on him. He's like he's like 68, 69. Shout out on ESPN's ranked their fantasy board, their cheat sheet, whatever it's called. I would go slightly underrated. One thing that scares me though is dudes who miss a whole year with like non-totally injury related issues usually don't come back very strong.
That's fair. And I would also say underrated right now. I think people are forgetting he was literally a top 5 receiver back when he was healthy, back when he played. He's missed the better part of 2 years. I know Drew Brees is gone. I know it's Jameis now. But production-wise, Jameis loves to sling the ball down the field. That could help him. I think he's underrated right now. I think he's better than where people are putting him.
All right, let me give you one.
All right.
Jonathan Taylor, underrated, overrated?
I think he's overrated. I think if I had to choose one, I'm going overrated. Which he had a stellar season last year. Going to be the number 1 pick in every fantasy draft this year. But I just don't know if I trust it enough. I don't know. I think he's a little overrated. I don't think he's the surefire number 1 best running back in the league. I'll put it at that.
So this one's interesting because at first I was like, oh, overrated. But then I was like, he's on the best offensive line. Like maybe he just dominates. But the reason I say overrated, when you draft Jonathan Taylor number 1 overall in your fantasy draft, are you that excited like past years when you get guys like Adrian Peterson or Chris Johnson?
I'm not.
Or Christian McCaffrey. When you pull that number 1 pick this year, it's not that same feeling.
No, and I would almost rather not get the number 1 pick just so I didn't have to have that. Because like if you don't take Jonathan Taylor and he goes off, then you're going to regret it for the rest of your life.
And you're not going to be the guy that doesn't take the number 1 overall player on the board.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. I'm still going overrated here though.
Yeah, I think slightly overrated. All right, give me your next player.
All right. Sticking with the players here. I'm going to go Kirk Cousins.
Okay, well, I have a blog coming out tomorrow that I'm writing right now. This will determine my answer because golly, he's so perfectly rated.
That's literally what I wrote down is perfect because he's not talked about enough.
But if we have to give an answer, I'm going to go underrated because the only reason I'm going to say underrated this year is because he's going to get a lot of praise this year because I wholeheartedly believe the Minnesota Vikings are going to win the NFC North. I don't understand why they're plus 300. I really don't. I don't see how the Packers are minus 200 favorites to win that division because they have the NFC North has the worst receivers besides the Vikings. I mean, they are awful. I was looking at it yesterday while writing the article. It'll be out tomorrow while you're listening to this. Go check it out on cartercast.com. While I was writing it, the Packers have Allen Lazard as their number 1 receiver. You know who they placed Devontae Adams with? Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
They're going to be awful. He has nobody to throw to. He doesn't have that safety blanket in Devontae Adams. I absolutely hate the Packers this year. I'm so out on the Packers. The Chicago Bears are in contention to be one of the worst teams in football this year.
Yep.
Roquan Smith coming out earlier today saying he wanted to get traded out of there. And then Amon St. Brown is probably the second or third best receiver in this division.
Yep.
And Darnell Mooney's the best receiver on the Bears. It is awful across the board.
I 100% agree with that. I think it's the Vikings division for the taking. I don't want to get too much off the rails here, but who's Aaron Rodgers going to throw to? Those two things don't mix. Aaron Rodgers loves to throw the ball 40 times a game, but Green Bay's best offense right now seems to be the running game with Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. So how does that
Alan Lazard.
So I don't know. But Kirk Cousins, back to Kirk Cousins, I literally wrote down perfectly rated because he's not talked about enough. Like he should not be the top of any quarterback conversation. But the Vikings are probably going to win the division. So it's like,
I'll tell you this. I'm definitely going to stream Kirk Cousins in fantasy at least one game this year.
Oh yeah,
guaranteed.
As you should.
No, I think I would go slightly underrated just because like I mentioned before, I think they're going to have a great season. I think they're going to win the NFC North. I think it'll be closer than people think, but I think 10-7 wins that division.
That's
and
fair.
When you can get 4 wins against the Bears and the Lions. So
yeah,
anyhow,
agree.
We're done with that. My next guy, Russell Wilson.
That's a good one. If I had to choose one, I think right now I'm going, well, it's tough because the Broncos aren't like the odds-on favorites to win the division, obviously. So I can't.
Is it the Chargers?
I don't know. I haven't looked in a little while.
I wasn't looking at that one. I was just focused on the NFC North for that article I'm writing tomorrow. But
I think that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I think if I had to choose overrated, underrated for Russell Wilson at this moment, I'm going to go underrated because the Broncos on paper are really good. Russell Wilson there's no DK Metcalf on the Broncos, but he has weapons on the outside. He's got Cortland Sutton. He's got Jerry Jeudy. Tim Patrick, obviously, towards ACL, but he's got weapons there. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon in the backfield, better than Seattle's running game the last couple of years. I think he's set up for success, and I don't think people are talking about it enough. So if I had to choose, I would go underrated, but it's not massively underrated. It's right on that line.
If you had to guess who's the favorite and what are their odds in the AFC West?
See, you're asking me that because it's going to be something that I don't think. Is it the Chargers?
The Chiefs are plus 170 as the favorite. Chargers plus 225. Broncos plus 270. Raiders plus 650.
That is crazy. That's the best division in football.
Without a doubt. Yeah, it's like the NFC West of last year. Russell Wilson, I'm going to go a little overrated because I think the people think the Broncos are going to be just insanely good. They're in the toughest division, like we mentioned. So I think they're going to struggle with that. Look, the Broncos could go 12-5, and I'll eat my words. The thing is, I just wasn't impressed with Russell Wilson these last couple years, and I don't know if that's necessarily on him or his surroundings. I mean, the offensive line was awful in Seattle. He never had a consistent running back because Chris Carson couldn't stay on the field. He had to retire early this year. Yeah, I'm going to go slightly overrated just because people, I mean, if you talk to Broncos fans, it's Super Bowl or bust in their minds.
Let's ride.
Yeah, and that's getting overplayed too. God.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be played so much during the season. Anyways.
So I'll go slightly overrated. You got another player?
I got one more player that I want to bring up, and I feel very strongly about this one. It's Trey Lance.
I don't know. With Trey Lance. You have to say overrated right now because if you have San Francisco fans in your life, shout out Brian. They're in love with him. They can't get enough of him. All I see all over my Twitter feed is Trey Lance stuff. Also, I see all the bad Trey Lance throws too all over my Twitter feed too. Yeah. I see the both. Right now, you have to say overrated because I mean, anybody who watched that Arizona Cardinals game this in the regular season where he played wasn't impressed at all. I feel very strongly about this one. Very much overrated at this moment in time. I'm not saying there's not potential there for him to be a really good player in this league, but at this moment in time, people are acting like the 49ers are already in the conference championship or something like that. People underrate how hard it is to win playoff games. Jimmy G might not have been the flashiest player, but he won a lot of playoff games for the 49ers.
Trey Lance has not even started for half a season yet. And people are acting like, oh, thank God Trey Lance is in as Jimmy G's replacement. Oh, we're going to be so much better this year. Like, he's the missing piece. He has not played in a meaningful game yet.
The thing is, we all saw how bad Jimmy G was, and he still made 2 NFC championship games and a Super Bowl. And they choked a lead in the Super Bowl. Like, they were way ahead. They easily could have won over the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in 2020.
I think
that's why underrated's in play here, because I think just because I think any quarterback can succeed in the Niners system that's competent.
If you brought in a veteran and said that, then that's one thing. But Trey Lance is, nobody knows. Now, I'm not saying he's going to suck. And all the cards are there. All the situation's there for him to be successful. He's set up for success in that Kyle Shanahan system. I just don't know yet. Like, people are penciling it in as they're going to win a couple playoff games. I can't do that. Not yet.
I don't blame you there. The main thing is, because I knew you were going to say overrated because you said you felt strongly. I didn't want to say the same thing, but the correct answer is overrated. But I don't think he's as overrated as you think he is. But I understand where you're coming from, though, because if Niners Twitter pops up on your Twitter feed, it's like it's the equivalent to Lakers Twitter, where they're like, yeah, we can trade all reliable Taylor Horton Tucker, a first round pick, and Russell Westbrook, and get some star.
Yeah.
Like, no, you can't.
You can't. No, you cannot. Oh yeah.
It's the same thing. I'm out of players, but I'm going to come up with one on the spot.
Okay.
Try and think here.
Are you? Because I have a coach.
I'm going to go. I'll do one player.
All right.
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans. Okay, that's a good one. I'm going to say underrated because all of the spotlight is on Tom Brady in Tampa. Everybody gives all the credit to Tom Brady. Now, yes, Mike Evans, yes, Chris Godwin, they're mentioned, Leonard Fournette, they're all mentioned as his weapons. But the majority of the spotlight goes on Tom Brady. Wow, Tom Brady comes to Tampa, wins a Super Bowl. Tom Brady this, Tom Brady that. I think Mike Evans is one of the top, I don't want to put a number on it, one of the top receivers in the league. And I feel like people don't talk about him enough as being a main reason for Tampa Bay's success. Yes, Tom Brady, but if Tom Brady had lesser known guys surrounding him, they wouldn't be as good.
This one's hard. These are so hard. We picked some good ones. I'm going to go, and also for the people listening, we have not told each other what we're saying before overrated, underrated. This is all on the spot.
Let's blind react.
I'm going to go slightly overrated just because I don't know. I mean, he's injured all the time, it feels like. I feel like he doesn't ever catch a ball outside of the end zone. The thing is, he catches touchdowns, so he's always fantasy relevant. If you're going against Mike Evans in fantasy, you're just like, oh, the whole day you're like, oh, he's got one reception for 7 yards. I'm going to kill this dude. All of a sudden, 2 touchdowns later, he's got 20 points.
Yeah. Now, I see why you can lean overrated, because you could spin it and say he gets all these touches, all these catches because Tom Brady's the quarterback. And if it wasn't Tom Brady there, then he wouldn't be as good. You can spin it that way. I chose to go the other way, though.
Yeah, I'll say slightly overrated. Give me your coach.
All right. My coach is Bill Belichick.
I like this one. You can't say like extremely overrated because you know what? Screw it. No, I'm going to say I think overrated because I think him and Greg Popovich are in the same spots right now where their dynasties are clearly coming to an end and they're almost hurting their franchises more than they're helping. The Spurs refuse to tank, refuse to go into the draft picks, all that. And the Patriots are doing kind of the same thing as the Spurs. Like they're going to kind of hover around, like barely getting in the playoffs.
Wild card. Yep.
And then it's going to crumble so hard and they are going to be terrible. The Patriots are going to be so bad. Mac Jones is not the answer. I'll say that right now. I will put my hand on it right now and say Mac Jones is not the answer for the Patriots. People were overreacting to him. He's like him and Teddy Bridgewater are in the same camp for me. If you're up 10 against the Patriots, you're going to win. He cannot come back from a 10-point deficit. I can guarantee that.
His ceiling is winning 11 games in the regular season. And so, he won't be a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
And another reason you got to say overrated for Bill Belichick too is now he doesn't have Tom Brady. Look what happens. They're not as good. I'm going. The thing is, But the other thing you can twist it too is to say underrated is that team was not as talented as their record said they were last year.
Yeah.
I don't think like their free agent signings are awful, it seems like. Like Kendrick Bourne, injured Hunter Henry.
They're trying to tread water and stay relevant, when in reality, the best route for them is probably to go in a rebuild. But Bill Belichick won't be a part of that, I guarantee it.
And that's why I want to say overrated too. And that's also like the Spurs thing. You're kind of treading water.
Yeah.
The Spurs are constantly getting in the play-in.
The DeRozan move for the Spurs, that was treading water.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll go slightly overrated. Right now, career as a whole, obviously, you can't say overrated as a whole. He's probably the greatest coach in football history.
At this point in time, I also say overrated, although during the Tom Brady years, I almost want to say underrated, just because of how he set that team up for success year after year. But as of right now, as we're doing this podcast, I'm going to say a little overrated.
Matt Rule,
God, Christ, overrated. He's a horrible coach. And I don't want to get on this Panthers rant. And I would be so much more willing if he was like, yeah, I've made some mistakes, like owned up to it and like tried to move forward.
He can't say that though.
He is stuck in his ways to the point where, yes, I get like using Sam Darnold as trade bait, sure. But to where he's just having this masquerade around who's going to be the quarterback or who's going to start at left tackle, even though we drafted a left tackle in the top 10. That stuff just pisses me off. And it's not like he's a good enough coach on the field and produces enough wins to excuse this shit in the media, honestly. You can't excuse it because he's not that good of a coach. So I know people think he sucks. They don't think he sucks enough.
Okay. Also, obviously he's overrated. This year, it's make or break this year, obviously, for Matt Rule. We don't have to get into that. I've talked about Matt Rule way too much. I did want to mention this coach, though, and this is my last coach. I don't have any more after this.
All right.
Ron Rivera.
That's tough. That is tough. Because he took Taylor Heineke to the playoffs. So I almost want to say underrated. I think I want to say underrated. Because every year Washington gets written out way before the season starts. They're going to suck. They're going to be third in the division, whatever. And their division sucks. Well, it doesn't suck, but it's not the best. I think they've been pretty relevant in the last couple of years, and I think Ron Rivera is a big reason why, and he doesn't get talked about a lot. So I'm gonna go underrated.
When I came up with Ron Rivera, my initial thought was slightly overrated, but you kind of convinced me into underrated.
What was your thought though? Why overrated?
Because I just don't think they're that good. I just don't, and I don't know if that's
an
indictment on him or that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. It's not as much as an indictment on him as it is the Washington Commanders. Yeah. But you can also twist it as like those Panthers years probably should have done more.
Yeah. There was that 1 year. And other than that, I feel like there should have been a couple of years of relevancy at least.
I mean, never had a back-to-back winning season.
Yeah, that's tough. That's pretty tough. Okay, that's fair. But at this moment in time, I still think underrated. Back then, I guess you can go overrated.
Do you have another coach or is it just things now?
No, I'm ready to move on. I got
same here.
All right, we're going to start off. Nice little transition there with the Ron Rivera, Matt Rule. Panthers alternate black helmets. Overrated, underrated?
Overrated.
Really?
Overrated. I think what's the did they come out with a uniform with them? Is it all black?
Isn't it all black? I think so.
Is it all black? When I see just a helmet, it's hard for me to like it just because I need to see it with the jersey on my TV.
Yeah, that's true.
And people are all over these helmets and love these helmets.
I still think they're underrated. I think it's so cool for the Panthers to do that because after all those years of, which the silver helmets are obviously classic, they're nice, but to have something different, all black, like blackout, I love blackout jerseys. When Carolina does it, I love it. I think it's going to be awesome. I love a good Carolina teal color rush game on a Thursday night. That's what I love. Those are also.
That's what I love. Or I hate the Saints, but the Saints all whites are so clean.
Those are clean.
Those are beautiful. That's a good one though. All right.
Let's hear it.
Picking first in your fantasy football draft.
Overrated. 100,000,000% overrated. Not even a question. People love to vie for that number one draft pick. It's not like real life. It's not like if you get the number one pick in the NFL or NBA draft or something like that. It is different. All the pressure's on you. If you mess up, everybody's turning to you and they're like, you're an idiot. How could you do this? Or if you get, let's say, God forbid, you take somebody number one that gets injured, you're sitting there with regret, like, oh, this what could have been. I took Jamal Charles the year he tore his ACL number 1. I felt horrible. But when you pick 4th, 5th,
didn't you have Adrian Peterson the year he got suspended too?
Yes. Yep. Oh yeah. And so I've had horrible luck. And then, but if you pick in the middle rounds, then you can see what the people above you are trying to do. You can get a feel for it, but yet you're still high enough to get a first tier player. So I think picking number 1 is way overrated.
I've never picked number 1 in my life, so I can never. I have probably been in 25 fantasy leagues. I have never once had the number 1 overall pick.
I think in our league alone, I've gotten it 3 to 4 times.
And we have it pretty random every year, whether it's out of a hat or some stupid game.
For a fact, I've gotten it 3 times, and I maybe 3, but we haven't been doing that long.
All right. I mean, I can't even say on this one. I want to pick first. I want to pick first. The scary thing is this year I don't want to pick first, and I know I'm going to get the first overall pick because I'm going to pick Christian McCaffrey if you give me the first overall pick.
I hope I get second then.
No, right. I would pick Jonathan Taylor. I would fold.
All right, I got a good one here while we're on the fantasy train. Blowing out your fantasy opponent and basically having your game decided before the 4 p.m. games even end. Overrated, underrated. Because there's no drama, but you're safe.
Oh, so underrated. So underrated. I love that feeling. The problem is it's like in basketball when, like, let's say the Hornets drop 150 points in a game. You know, the next night they're only scoring 86.
Yeah.
So this week you drop like 190 on your opponent. The next week you have a freaking 85 burger.
Oh yeah, that's facts.
That's why it would be overrated. But the underrated, oh my gosh, dude, there's nothing better than just dominating someone in fantasy, especially if it's like someone's team. It's not like the bottom of the barrel people in your league. It's like someone who's actually good. After the 1 o'clock games, your running back had 2 40-yard plus touchdowns.
Yep.
You're chilling, and you just watch the Sunday night game. You're just like, your guy just keeps getting touchdowns, and you watch it stress free. I love it. No, that's very, very, very underrated.
I completely agree because it's so hard when you're trailing big in fantasy, and you're like, well, there's still time, but my players all have to have the best game they've had all year. Like that feeling of trailing is so horrible because you're just like lying, clawing. Like, please throw him the ball. I've been there standing in front of my TV screaming at Amari Cooper on Monday Night Football on the Cowboys. Please get open.
But the contrary to that is just making the comeback on a Monday night when you're down 25 points and you have one player.
Yeah. God, oh my gosh. What a feeling.
That's like the greatest feeling in the world. All right. Overrated, underrated. The London game.
What? Okay, expand on that. As in, like just the game itself?
Just the London game.
I think it's overrated because they always put the worst teams in it. I don't want to see the Jaguars. Although it is cool to have a kickoff where you can watch a team like before 1 p.m. That's cool. But the actual game itself, it's just another game. And then usually it's the Jaguars. I just feel like it's always the Jaguars.
Being on the West Coast, it sucks because you have to wake up at like 7 a.m. for it. But I mean, like a little 9, 10 a.m. kickoff never hurt anybody.
I think it's good for the fans. I think it's good to grow the game. But as far as the game itself, I think it's overrated. It's nothing crazy.
I think it's underrated. I like the London game.
Really?
I like the London game. I'll go out and say it. I'm gonna get up in my jams watching Miami versus the Jaguars.
Jams.
Right.
I got another good one. Scott Hansen's voice.
Underrated because it's so real. If you've heard him on podcasts, it's the same voice as you hear every Sunday.
If I just hear him, it just instantly triggers like some kind of serotonin or something in me that's just like, oh my God, NFL football's back. Let me check my fantasy app.
Yeah, it's like the CBS college football music.
Yeah.
Or the March Madness. Yeah, the March Madness theme.
All right, you got another one?
I have
another one.
I'll go. I got plenty more. All right. This is kind of in the same light, so we're kind of doing it right here. Tony Romo's commentating.
I think it's overrated. I think people jack him off, and rightly so. He was an NFL quarterback for a long time at a high level, so he knows what he's talking about. I'm not slighting that at all. I just don't know if I want to hear that while I'm watching the game. I think it's good in small doses, but I don't want to listen to Tony Romo back-to-back games. So I think a little overrated because people think he's like one of the best now, which he is entertaining, but I think in small doses. Like I don't want to hear what play they're going to run before it happens all the time. So slightly overrated.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go just slightly, just a hair. I think he's perfectly rated now. I think there's enough criticism. I think there's enough praise to even it out. Just a little tiny bit underrated, just because he got so much crap during these playoffs. So much crap. People hated him. Hated him. Yeah, they were saying he's the worst commentator. How did he why did people think he was this good? I'm going slightly underrated just because I think he got way too much crap last year.
Okay. On that same theme, how about the Manning cast on Monday Night Football?
Overrated.
I agree completely. I think it takes away from the game. Like I think it's funny, and if it's a game I don't care about, then sure.
Yeah,
but it takes away from the game.
Yeah, the thing is, like, if you're gonna do that kind of thing, and this sounds bad, but like they should be uncensored, unfiltered. They should be able to say whatever they want. If Pat McAfee's going to come on, like he should be able to swear on there. It shouldn't be this, tight knit thing where they have, because like the Manning stuff can feel really fake at times.
Yep.
And I don't want to watch fake. We watch fake all the time.
Yep.
I would say overrated for sure. If they were uncensored and they got to say whatever they want, if they're like, "What the F was that?" kind of
thing. That'd be cool.
Then I think it would be I think it'd be getting more ratings than the actual Monday Night Football game. If you had like people with real personalities like a Pat McAfee or like a Big Cat from Barstool, I think those would just absolutely dominate the Manning cast.
It's fair. All right.
It's kind of cookie cutter to me is what I'm saying.
I agree. That's a good take.
Oh, is it me? Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, you're up.
Going to an actual NFL game.
That's a tough one. Because there's pros and cons.
Traffic.
If it's 95 degrees like Panthers Jets week
or
one
rain.
Year, 95 degrees
cold.
Or rain. Either one of those. Cold I'm okay with.
Cold games are brutal.
Now, I'm not talking Lambeau Field cold, but if it's 40 degrees, I'm going to be able to handle that, I think. I don't know. The first one of the season, or if you haven't been in a couple of years, that's underrated because just the feeling of having live football in front of you, like that's awesome. But it could easily shift to overrated if there's not perfect conditions. If it's 95 degrees and I'm sweating through my khakis or my jersey, that's horrible. Or if it's pelting rain and I can't even see or get a beer or anything, that's also horrible. So in the sweet spot, it's underrated, but it could easily go overrated depending on the conditions.
I'm going overrated. I don't think you expanded enough on how awful NFL traffic can be. And
that
parking is like, if you're not a season ticket holder and don't have a designated parking spot,
screwed.
Parking is a disaster in every single NFL city. There is not an easy NFL place any NFL stadium has an easy place to park anywhere. I think that's awful. And this is the biggest con to going to an actual NFL game, especially if it's on Sunday, only if it's on Sunday, is you miss all the other games.
That is true.
Like I genuinely mainly like going to NFL games. One, if it's your team and they're like in a playoff race, they're actually good. That's different. But if it's just like a week 3 Sunday 1:00 game, I kind of would rather be at home on my couch watching every game.
I agree. I will say one of the coolest things related to like missing other games and all that kind of thing. Went to the Panthers Saints a couple of years ago, the night game, and I was in the fantasy semifinals, had Michael Thomas, won me the game in person. Person I was playing was also there. Blake was also there. I was able to destroy him in person. It was great. But your points are very valid too.
Yeah, no, I'm going overrated to going to an actual game. I love going to NFL games, but the process of getting there is a disaster.
I think, little sidebar here. I think going to an NBA game is more fun.
Oh, I don't know.
Depending on who's playing.
I don't know. Yeah, it's all depending on who's playing because, dude, NBA games can suck.
But traffic's not as bad. Walk in, I can get something to eat. We'll sit down. And if Steph Curry's playing, air conditioning, you're inside. And if Steph Curry's playing, it's a close game. I would love to, not that I do this, gamble on basketball over football. Like, it's so much more fun in person. I think NBA game's better. That might be a hot take. I don't know if people agree with me on that, but
I would say something like about college football just because, but I've never been to an SEC game. I've only done
Yeah.
ACC and like BYU games, so I can't put my finger on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna still say overrated at going to an actual NFL
right.
game. I don't know if an NBA is better though because it just depends who you're seeing because there are some awful NBA games I've been to.
We went to Pistons Magic.
Pistons. That
We
might have
went
been
to
the
the
worst.
Pistons Magic in January.
Pistons Magic in January in Orlando might be the worst one.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. This is a good transition because talking about going to games. So you'd rather be at home in air conditioning. Now here's the question: overrated, underrated. Sitting down with a huge meal, probably Bojangles at 12:55 Eastern time, right in time for the 1 p.m. kickoffs. You're just there. You have 3 or 4 screens set up, red zones up, huge meal. I feel like people don't talk about it enough. Just
I was about
feeling.
to say, I was like, that sounds like heaven on earth.
But I feel like to the average person, they don't understand that feeling.
Yeah, the average person doesn't, but
I think it's so underrated because the feeling you get when you
week one is like the big. It's when the tournament and because the NCAA tournament kind of like eases you in at first because you have that first game, you're only watching that first game, but by halftime or like the under 16 time out of that first game, all of a sudden you're watching 3 games. You're like, oh snap, we're in this thing.
Yeah.
And at the first week of NFL football, all of a sudden you have 9-10 games on at once.
I love it.
All at once because there's no buys. Everybody's playing and it is chaos and then you're also watching your team. You haven't seen your team play a real snap besides like 3 preseason snaps.
Yeah.
It is a disaster. I love NFL week 1. That's an article coming out soon. The best sports days of the year. I mean, I don't think anything beats Thursday March Madness, but Sunday NFL week 1 NFL Red Zone. Then your team's on the other TV. If you have like 4 or 5 TVs, then you can do Sunday Ticket with the games you have bets or fantasy on. Mm-hmm. That's. I mean, if anybody says overrated that, they're crazy. Yeah. Next one, deciding between 2. I'll kind of go in the same lines as that one. I'll go do a rainy Sunday. A rainy NFL Sunday.
I think it's underrated.
Yeah, I like it.
I think it's underrated because it almost makes you seem like it doesn't make you feel as bad for sitting.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like
sitting cooped up inside for 9 hours.
Yeah, I feel like less of a piece of crap when I'm sitting there watching 8.5 hours of commercial-free football.
Exactly. It's like, if there's sunlight outside, then you're like, man, maybe I should go outside and exercise or see the sunlight or something like that.
Yeah, or if
it's pouring rain.
Yeah, or you get obloed to death and you have to take your lady out or something stupid like that. Like,
yeah.
Not that it's stupid.
No, I would much rather do that than watch NFL football.
Yeah, no. Watching NFL football is my least favorite thing on earth.
I absolutely hate it.
Having a picnic and going on a hike on a Sunday is my favorite thing in the world.
Oh man.
We're clear.
I don't know. I think the rain's kind of cool, especially when you're just inside, like you're all cozied up on the couch watching all those games. Oh my God, it's amazing.
Rainy Sunday's the best. I love a rainy Sunday. Real quick before we keep going, we'll probably have 1 or 2 left, and then we'll close here. What's the week 1 meal?
The week 1 meal?
Week 1 meal. It's mine's pizza.
Yours is pizza. Okay. In the past few years, mine has always been Bojangles. Always been Bojangles. It just is. It's a tradition. It's almost been every Sunday. When me and Chip lived together, it was every Sunday.
Yeah, we don't have the access to Bojangles anymore.
We do not have Bojangles anymore. So I'm gonna have to call an audible, and I am not sure yet. I'm gonna be completely honest. I have no clue.
See, and the other tricky thing about me, I'm on Mountain Time. So 11 a.m. kickoffs are weird.
Because a lot of places that you want food from probably open at 11. So you got to find that sweet spot of like getting there and getting back.
And then also 11 a.m. pizza is a risky time to eat pizza. It's a little early for pizza.
Yeah, 11 a.m. pizza. I mean, I don't know. I feel like
imagine going into Little Caesars at 11 a.m. Like, can I get a pizza?
I'll be going to the Little Caesars at our draft time. Now that's decided. My draft meal was decided.
All right. Do you have any more underrated, overrateds?
Last one I have here. It's not as good, but I'm curious your thoughts on this because I could see it going both ways. that hour-ish, 45 minutes between the last 4 p.m. game and the Sunday night game. And I will counter that with, if one of the 4 p.m. games goes to overtime, is that good or bad?
So I was going to say, people would say underrated just because people, that's a really good one, because that's a good one to close on, because it's overrated in the aspect of like, yeah, it's overtime, but you're so tired. You're so tired at that point because you've been through the trenches. You all your bets are there. You dug through that. You have your fantasy team's probably down 30 points going into the Sunday night game with 2 players left.
And you have Tyler Lockett.
Yep, and if you're in school, you have homework tomorrow, or you have to get up at 7 a.m. for work the next day. Oh man, I'm gonna go slightly underrated.
Okay.
Just because you need that break. That break is critical.
I was going to go in the same direction. You have time to, I don't know, take a shower, open the door for the first time in 8 hours, get some dinner.
I can probably a handful of times in my life, I have not taken a nap during the afternoon games.
Yeah, that seems to happen because there's only 3 or 4 usually, and then
if
there's no good ones on, then
yeah, it's usually 3 or 4, and yeah, and especially if like things aren't going your way with the fantasy and all that, like you always take a nap because you ate too much pizza, you ate too much Bojangles. I like it though because you need that break. That's why like the NCAA tournament, I love that like 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I actually really like that. People hate that. People are like, no, that needs to be filled. No, it doesn't. I need a little reset. I need a little reset because if I had a bad morning, I need that 30, 45 minutes,
just to gather yourself and get excited again, even
take a dump, drink a water, get back in the grip of things. I'll close here. My last one is what's the most underrated sports bet or NFL bet?
Bet?
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, it's first touchdown.
First touchdown's the greatest.
It's not even close. I've never felt
coin toss is up there. Coin toss is up there. But coin toss gets its love there.
But game wise, it's first touchdown because you throw $5 and you hit, and all of a sudden you're up $35. But the thing is, I've just never felt feelings like I have for that because there was one a couple of years ago. God, who was it? It was somebody on the Rams. It was their backup running back. Who was it?
Malcolm Brown?
Malcolm Brown. And before the game, me and Blake were talking. We were like,
it was us three. I was there.
Yeah, us three. Me, you, and Blake.
And you and I talked him out of it.
We did. We talked about it. We were like, maybe you shouldn't do Malcolm Brown. Like, he's not going to get the ball. Worst feeling of my life when he scored the first touchdown because we would have been up some good money. But that's easily the most underrated
it was
bet.
Plus like 3,500 plus 3,000, something like that.
Yep.
The greatest one is, there's a video of us hitting Stephon Diggs first touchdown on Barstool Sportsbook.
Yep. That's pretty good. It's the most exhilarating one for sure. It's underrated. People don't talk about it.
I was just setting that up because I knew that was going to be the answer.
Oh, it has to be.
A sneaky underrated one is first quarter team total. I love a good first quarter team total.
That's a good one. I've seen you take that one quite a few times.
First quarter team total is very electric. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Futures are kind of overrated just because you have to wait so long. It's like all right. Unless there's one you really like, and one I really like, the Minnesota Vikings to win the NFC North.
That's a good one. I think that's a good future. I'm not big into futures because I don't know. I might put some money on the Hornets this year, but who knows?
To win the title, plus 1,000. That's free money. The Panthers plus 1,000
to win what?
The division.
I was about to say that's not horrible. If Baker has a good year,
Tom Brady gets hurt,
or just
if Tom Brady gets hurt,
he has to decline at some point. Anyways, he has to. He just has to. It'll be one of these years.
Let me look here. Plus 1,100.
That's not horrible.
That's not that bad.
No, it's not.
All right. Well, that'll do it. Overrated, underrated. NFL.
That was fun.
We'll be back next week. We're going to start doing 2-a-days. Not next week. Next week we'll just
2-a-days.
No, you like 2 a week. My bad. 2 days. I'm reading too much fall camp stuff from BYU, seeing 2 a days and all
I'm
this.
getting
crap.
the whip cracked on me. I don't know if I can do 2 a day. Come on.
No, we'll be back doing two podcasts a week here soon. Interviews coming soon. We'll have over-unders podcast for college football and NFL coming on soon.
We gotta do this segment again come basketball season or college football season.
100%. 100%. Yeah, we'll have Brian on. We'll try and get Preston Johnson back on. We'll have more interviews. And then also thanks to Coach Giltner for coming on. Awesome interview. And I hope you guys enjoy the interview. Coach, how are you, man?
Awesome. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Anytime. So you played at Wofford. Let's talk about your playing background real quick. Played at Wofford. Everybody who listens to this knows I'm a huge BYU fan. You guys actually played Jimmer in the NCAA tournament. When you guys get BYU in that draw, what was your reaction? You're like, oh crap, we have to play Jimmer, or it's like, oh nice, we can end this now.
Yeah, it was. Oh crap, we got to play Jimmer. He was kind of because I also my freshman year played Curry. He was in our league at Davidson. So
yeah, that's what people don't realize is the SoCon. You guys won back-to-back SoCon. SoCon's tough.
Tough. It's really tough. It's such a great league, and so Steph Curry goes to the NBA after my freshman year, his junior year, and we're like, thank God I don't have to play anybody like him. And then you draw Jimmer, my junior year, which was 2 years later. So it was like an oh crap, we got to play a Jimmer, but we did a pretty good job on him. I think he was, don't quote me, he was 10 for 25 maybe from the
Sounds
field.
About right.
Did pretty good on him. Others hurt us. Well, that team, it wasn't just Jimmer. That was a really good team. But it was.
You were right. Dead on. 10 for 25.
Yeah. We did a good job on him. Like, we'll take that all day. But that team was good. It wasn't just Jimmer. Again, it was well-coached, deep team. And it was close. It was close until there towards the end, and they just kind of took off. But it was a cool experience.
Awesome. Well, so after that season, you have your senior season, and playing career ends. Kind of. You played a little professional ball.
Yep.
After it all ends, what are you thinking? You're like, oh, crap, I got to go get a 9 to 5, or you're like, I'm going into coaching. I can't stop playing basketball.
100% going into coaching. I had talked to Coach throughout my career about getting into coaching, and all the assistants, and I always kind of was asking them a million questions. I always wanted to coach. There really wasn't another path. I almost went into coaching instead of going overseas for that 1 year. Probably should have. That 1 year was not super productive, but I'm glad it happened the way it did. Timing was great. I got to join Wofford. Like, that was awesome. Like, I got to come back and be at my alma mater for Coach Young. That was never in the plans. That was never something that was just understood that was going to happen. It just, timing was great, and I did it. And so happy that I did. And just timing is a powerful thing in this business. And I've been with Coach ever since. So I always wanted to coach.
Yeah, like, talk to me about the coaching thing, because I don't think people realize the insane amount of hours y'all put in with recruiting, with film, with just practice in general, and having to be on top of your players and all that. What's a typical work week for you?
I mean, first of all, it's fun. Like,
yeah. It's not like,
it's a lot. It's a lot. It's definitely more than the 40 hours that a lot of people do, but a lot of people have tough jobs too. Our job is fun. There's a lot of pressure, but yeah. I mean, I'm thankful that I work for Coach Young. He does not micromanage our time. He does not, hey, be in the office at 7 a.m. and you can't leave until 7 p.m. Like, no, he's not like that. It's a very easygoing work environment here, which is great, which is rare, I think. But we spend a lot of time recruiting, man. I got an 8-month-old daughter at the house. When she goes down, boom, the phone gets back in my hand, and it's recruiting time. You're on the phone, texting, calling somebody. There's always calls to make. There's always texts to make. There's always some sort of communication to happen. And but it's fun. I mean, it's different waves, man. It's different waves. Like, you're in the season mode and you're scouting and you're watching so much film, and you're always on your computer watching film everywhere you go. It's attached to the hip. And there's recruiting in summer, and your rental cars and flights and hotels all the time, and building AAU schedules and all that stuff. And then there's, like, August is pretty chill. But it's fun, man. A typical week is it's different. That's what I love about it. It's different every week. You know, sometimes you got visitors on campus, sometimes it's straight practice mode, and sometimes it's just individual skill development. And then it's, you know, working on your schedule, working on, you know, or you're always recruiting, but there's just a million different things to do. And I'm thankful to work for a guy that doesn't take himself too seriously. And we all kind of follow suit and just have fun with it.
I've talked to like Nolan Smith at Duke and stuff like that. They're in the film after a game. They're watching film till like 4 a.m. Do you sometimes think that like the film you watch is overkill, where you're watching 6 hours of film? You're like, this is like, all right, we get it. Like we know what they're running. We know what we need to do.
Yeah, I do. I think sometimes it is, but man, if a certain situation comes up and you're not prepared, you feel absolutely terrible. So you always want to be prepared. Like, hey, I saw them do this 4 or 5 years ago in this situation. Like, coaches are very habitual. You know, if they ran something 4 or 5 years ago and you know, side out of bounds with 1 second left, they're probably going to do it again, right? Or you know, there's different situations you want to be prepared for. I don't think we do too much. Thankful Coach Young doesn't want to watch anything after the game. He wants to decompress. He wants to go home. He wants to just let it go, and then the next day we'll watch it first thing in the morning. But you know, the night before the games, we're watching many film of, you know, say we're playing NC State, we're watching 5 or 6 of those films the night before just to kind of refresh on everything we've been watching all week. So that can be tough. But again, we're watching film. It's not like we're digging ditches. We're watching film.
Yeah. Exactly. Kind of want to pivot here. Let's talk NIL transfer portal. I mean, college basketball, everyone's coined the term the Wild Wild West. It's kind of turned it, the NBA player empowerment era. It's kind of reached into college sports in a way right now. How has this all changed recruiting and coaching for you? Because you kind of have to keep your guys happy all the time. Before, these guys just have a lot more power now. This is how it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's different, and you have to adjust, and you certainly have to focus on those things, but it doesn't really change the way we coach. It really doesn't. Like, we're going to be honest with people. When they make mistakes, we're going to let them know. And like, if this is not something you want to be around, we got to do a better job in the recruiting process of finding that out. Like, we are not super hard on our guys. That's not what I'm saying, but we're also not going to lie to them. And especially in the process. I think now more than ever, you got to be honest with people in the recruiting process, when they're on your team, where they stand, where they need to get better. Because if you tell everybody, hey, you're going to come here and start, and you're going to be out like, well, you can only start 5. So somebody's pissed off anyway. So it hasn't really changed the way we coach them or the way we treat them. Like, we treat our guys really well, and we coach them hard, but love them harder. But in the process of recruiting and roster management, you got to think about NIL. You got to think about transfer portal. You got to think about, man, is it better to take a freshman at this certain situation, or should we just find a transfer that could fill that role, who's got experience? And those types of conversations and those types of thoughts are in our brains a little bit more now with the transfer portal. But we still like to do it the right way, and we still like to do it the honest way. And we'll see if it works, but that's what we're going to stick to, man. And, you know, obviously we really try to empower our guys, and Virginia Tech has great resources with the NIL stuff. And, you know, that's certainly helped in a big way. Our fan base is insane. So we'll utilize that stuff for sure as much as we can, and whatever's legal is what we're going to do. But outside of that, we can't touch. But it's certainly a thought that's on our brains, especially now, especially in the spring too.
Do you worry about tampering in the sport? Because now all these boosters and coaches can come and be like, hey, you come here, you can do a car ad for $2 million and come play for us. Do you worry about that with your team at all? Because I mean, it feels like guys are getting poached all the time.
Yeah, I mean, no, I honestly don't. I honestly don't. I can't ever like foresee a situation. I mean, it could happen, but I don't stress about that. I don't. You know, you can stress about a million different things. I think we got great guys. I think we got guys that want to be here. I think we got guys that love it here and love Coach Young. And this is about what's real. Like, this is about what's real. If you want to go be unhappy somewhere for a $2 million car ad, go right ahead. But if you want something that's real, if you want to have great teammates, if you want to be treated the right way, And if you want to be a part of something that's bigger than yourself and you want to win a championship and all the real stuff, the substance, that's what we have here. And we got some cool stuff going on too. Now, I'm not gonna lie, we got some great stuff too, but I don't worry about somebody coming in here and poaching. I just don't. I don't.
All right. Well, let's talk basketball now. Let's talk real basketball now. Let's talk a little bit about last year. I mean, unbelievable roller coaster season. So many ups and downs last year. You guys end up winning your first ACC tournament title in Virginia Tech. And
Yep.
then you go into the tournament, lose first round to a tough Chris Beard Texas team.
Yep.
I mean, just talk about last season. What was it like for you and the team?
Yeah, it was crazy. Started off pretty good. Had a great Big Ten win against Maryland on the road, was huge. And they were supposed to be really, really good, and they were really good. So started off really, really well, beat St. Bonnie's in a great game, stubbed our toe a little bit at Dayton, but had a pretty good non-conference. And then just started 0-4 in the ACC. And I don't want to blame COVID, and I'm not going to blame COVID, but we did have a bad bout of it right around Christmas break, as did everybody. And just could stop and start with all that stuff. And that was pretty frustrating. Had no continuity. Started off 0-4, ended up 2-7 at one point. Yeah, and we were searching, but we weren't far off. Coach Young kept on saying, like, guys, we know how good we are. We know how good we can be. We've got great coaches. We got great players. We are this close. It's not this. Our record may say it's this far, but it's this close. We just kept on chipping away, man. And I think the character of our team and the type of guys that we have in our locker room really took over. You know, no one was pointing fingers. No one was saying, this is your fault, man. What's coach doing? Hey, this is wrong. This, whatever. It was like, hey, how can we come together and figure it out? And just game by game started to figure out. Won 13 of our last 16 games. Won a championship. Won 4 games in 4 days. And was unbelievable. It was absolutely unbelievable. Like, I think what we saw the last 16 games of our season, it was truly who we are. And we got away from that in the middle of the season. We got away from defending with grit and toughness and the little things. And we just sharpened up that stuff. And, we got really good guard play going on down the stretch. Justin Mutz and Keve Aluma were phenomenal all year long. But we started to see the emergence of, Naheem Aline and Darius Maddox and Hunter Couture and Storm Murphy and Sean Padula. Those guys really picked up their games all in a big way, and that really kind of propelled us. We had that nice little 1-2 punch to end the season. You could throw it in, you could throw it out, and we started to play really well together late.
Couture absolutely dominated Duke. I'm a Duke fan. He was feeling it. Like, well, during that game where you're like, oh my, we're winning this thing. The way he's shooting the ball, I mean, immediately he's got 18 at like the under 12.
Yeah, it was insane. It was insane, and it couldn't happen to a better guy. We have great guys. All of them are great guys. But Hunter has an unbelievable routine. He works hard. He doesn't waver. It doesn't matter if his feet are hurting. It doesn't matter if he's tired. It doesn't matter if he's sore. It doesn't matter if he's sick. Like, he does the same thing almost every day, and he works his nuts off. And I love the kid, and it couldn't happen to a better person. He's such a prime example of what we want here. Extremely under-recruited. Came here, worked his butt off. Got bigger, stronger, got thrown into the fire as a freshman. And now you're starting to see just a veteran. He's a veteran. And you look out there as we were playing Duke, and they had 4 freshmen and 1 sophomore on the court majority of the time. And we had older guys. Hunter was a junior that played a million of minutes. Justin Mutz was a 5th-year senior. Keve was a 5th-year senior. Storm was a 5th-year senior. Naheem Aline was a junior that played a million minutes. And then you're coming off the bench with Darius, who played so much. So we just had a great experience there. But Hunter was feeling it, man, and it was fun to watch. And it was just cool to see that happen on such a cool, the spotlight, Duke, ACC championship game, and he had his best performance. It was so cool to see. What a great kid and a great family.
Let's talk this season now. What's the feeling going into this year after getting the first ACC tournament title? You guys return a lot of key pieces. What are the expectations into this year?
Well, I mean, it's tough to sit here and say that we're not thinking about what we could do, and we don't ever talk about, hey, let's go repeat or let's go win a champ. Like we don't talk about that. We just don't. Let's just be really, really good today in practice. That sounds so cliche and so coach talk, but it's true. Like, we don't really talk about we don't really set goals. We don't really say, let's go win a natty. Obviously we want to. Everybody wants to. But what are your habits every single day? So we really preach on that. Like, what are our habits? What are our habits? What are our habits? And we do that. And we have high expectations. I think this should be an NCAA tournament team. I really do. I feel very comfortable saying that out loud. Now, are we going to be that? I don't know. Right? We stink right now, but it's only August, right? We got a lot of stuff to put together here. But we feel good about our team, and we feel like we're very deep. We're very deep. We have, there's not a lot of separation between, the top 3 or 4 and then the next 3 or 4. It's very deep. This is probably the deepest. It's not probably, it is the deepest team we've had since we've been here. So we're very excited about that and excited to see what the future holds.
That's the thing, because that was a kind of a poorly worded question, because the NCAA tournament is a crapshoot, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Because, anything can happen. Like,
Anything.
we saw you guys dominate the ACC tournament. Absolutely whoop everybody in your path, and then except the first game, which was crazy.
Yeah.
But then the NCAA tournament comes and kind of a hangover, and you're like, this Virginia Tech team just beat some of the top team in the country, 2 Final Four teams, and then just can't get out of the first round.
Yeah. But what people don't understand, like, and this is not an excuse. I'm not saying this, but it's wild. Like, you play on Saturday night at 9 p.m. You win that game. You don't get back to your hotel until 1. Obviously, you're up celebrating, like, throughout the whole night, and you get no sleep that night. You wake up, you get on your plane, and you go home, and then boom, it's selection show, and so you're up all night that night, Sunday night, preparing for the team you just found out you're playing hours ago. And then the next couple of days, you're like, man, do we practice with the team? Do we give them off? Do we just do shooting groups? They're exhausted. 4 games in 4 days. That's unheard of. They're exhausted. It's the first time they've been back to their dorm or their apartment in a week. Like, their heads are spinning. We just won. The crowd's going crazy. Everybody's texting, calling, the media attention. And then you're trying to focus for the tournament. It was such a quick turnaround. When I was at Wofford and we won the championships, we had a week between the championship game and the selection show. So you could, like, relax, you could celebrate, you could kind of let your hair down, if you will, and just relax and catch your breath. And then, all right, now we know we're playing, let's lock back in. But this was so bang, 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 bang. You're on a flight on Tuesday, you play on whatever it was. So it was pretty hectic, but not an excuse. We did not play well at Texas versus Texas. They had a lot to do with that. They're big, physical, strong dudes, and they took us out of what we wanted to do. So give Chris Beard and those guys a lot of credit, but it was pretty hectic.
Coach, thanks again for your time. Had a blast talking to you. Best of luck to the Hokies this year. We saying Final Four or bust? Putting that expectation on, put that on the shoulders.
You're not going to get me with that one. Hey, we're going to be the best we can be. How about that?
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks again, and good luck.
Appreciate you.